Marvel weapon can cut through a god, another can erase an entire planet, and one of them doesn't kill you at all. It simply decides you were never supposed to exist. These aren't just powerful weapons. They're catastrophic mistakes. Tools so absurdly dangerous that the moment they appear, the fight is already over. From artifacts that turned ordinary warriors into extinction events, to creations so overwhelmingly broken, they force the universe to obey.
This usually works.
All performance issues.
Loki's scepter. Most deadly weapons destroy the body. Loki's scepter does something worse. It rewrites the mind. The moment that glowing blade touches your chest, your free will is gone. That's what made it so terrifying during the Battle of New York. When Hawkeye fell under its control, he didn't die. He became something far more dangerous. A weapon aimed directly at the people he once fought beside. That's what makes the scepter unforgettable. A sword can kill you. A gun can end you. This thing turns you into the one doing the killing. And somehow, that feels worse. And if mind control sounds terrifying, the next weapon doesn't manipulate, it judges. Mjolnir. To most people, Mjolnir looks simple, just a hammer, but to anyone standing against Thor, it feels like judgment itself. When Mjolnir flies, it doesn't feel like metal moving through the air. It feels inevitable. Entire monsters collapse beneath a single strike. Buildings crack apart. Lightning tears across battlefields. And then there's its cruelest ability. If you aren't worthy, you don't even get to fight. You can't lift it. You can't move it. You can only stare at it and realize the battle ended before it ever began. That's what makes Mjolnir so deadly. It doesn't just crush your body. It crushes your hope.
We need to go.
The Destroyer, Odin's execution machine. The Destroyer never needed speed. That was exactly what made it terrifying. When it first appeared in Thor, it didn't charge. It didn't roar. It simply walked forward with absolute certainty, as if resistance had already been calculated and dismissed. Then, its face opened, and everything vanished. The beam it unleashed didn't burn. It erased. Entire structures disappeared under concentrated annihilation. What made it even worse was its total lack of emotion. No rage, no cruelty, no hatred, just purpose. The kind of purpose only something built to execute can ever have. But somehow, one of Marvel's deadliest weapons doesn't even look dangerous. And wait until you see what comes near the end. That one breaks the scale completely. Doctor Strange's sling ring. At first glance, it looks harmless. Just a ring. Small, forgettable. That's what makes it so dangerous. In the right hands, the sling ring becomes terrifyingly efficient because portals aren't just for travel. They're weapons disguised as shortcuts. A portal can strand you forever, trap you in another dimension, slice through reality itself.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
Or remove you from existence so cleanly it feels like you were never there. That's what makes it horrifying. You don't lose in a dramatic explosion. You simply disappear, quietly, instantly, permanently. Yondu's Yaka arrow. Most deadly weapons announce themselves. You hear the explosion, you see the blade, you feel the attack coming. The Yaka arrow gives you none of that. It gives you a whistle, and by the time you hear it, it's already too late. That's what made Yondu's Corridor Massacre in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 unforgettable. An entire corridor packed with armed soldiers, locked exits, nowhere to run, and yet that tiny red arrow moved through them like they were standing still. Every movement was perfect, every strike surgical, no wasted motion, no hesitation, no mercy. Once the whistle starts, the fight is already over. Wolverine's adamantium claws. Wolverine's claws aren't flashy, they don't glow, they don't explode, they simply end fights. Adamantium cuts through almost anything. Steel, armor, bone, nothing holds. And unlike most weapons, these claws aren't holstered or dropped. They're bonded to his very skeleton. Always there, always ready. Combined with Logan's healing factor, they make him relentless. You can't exhaust him, you can't outlast him, and you definitely can't survive trading blows for long. That's what makes them terrifying. They aren't cosmic. They're personal, up close, brutal, and painfully efficient. If Wolverine is relentless, the next weapon is endless. Hela's necroswords, infinite death. Most warriors run out of ammunition. Hela never does. That's what made her feel completely unstoppable in Thor, Ragnarok. The second she raises her hand, blades begin pouring into existence. They don't need to be drawn. They don't need to be reloaded. They simply appear, exactly where death is needed. That's why her assault on Asgard felt less like combat and more like annihilation. There's no opening, no pause, no chance to counterattack. Just endless waves of razor-sharp destruction. Fighting Hela means stepping into a storm made entirely of knives, and storms don't care who survives. The 10 rings. The 10 rings aren't chaotic. They're calculated. That's what makes them so deadly. When Wenwu fights, every strike feels deliberate, measured, perfect. One hit breaks your defense, the next caves through stone, another sends you flying before your brain even processes what happened. And because each ring can move independently, fighting Wenwu never feels like facing one weapon. It feels like facing 10 attacks at once. That's why he ruled for centuries. He didn't need armies. The rings made him one. Ronin's universal weapon. Ronin's hammer was already dangerous. Then it touched the Power Stone and instantly became something else entirely. It stopped being a weapon. It became judgment. Its power wasn't measured in kills. It was measured in extinction. Entire civilizations could vanish beneath a single strike. That's what made it horrifying.
Put it together.
What are you doing?
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
Ronin wielded it casually, as if planetary destruction was routine. That isn't combat, that's execution on a cosmic scale. And somehow, even planet-killing power still isn't enough, because what comes next doesn't destroy worlds. It erases reality itself.
I will cure it!
The ultimate nullifier. This is where Marvel weapons stop making sense. The ultimate nullifier doesn't fire a blast. It doesn't injure. It doesn't destroy. It erases. Completely. Entire timelines can vanish. Entire realities can collapse. And the most terrifying part? It doesn't care what stands in front of it. Gods, celestials, cosmic entities. Everything becomes equally fragile. That's what makes it horrifying. It doesn't overpower its target. It removes the target from existence entirely, as if it never happened, as if it was never meant to happen.
Did you know there's an entire chapter devoted to you in the Darkhold?
The Darkhold. Most deadly weapons need to be held. The Darkhold doesn't. It only needs to be opened. That's what makes it terrifying. At first glance, it looks harmless. Just an ancient book, pages filled with forbidden knowledge. But the moment someone begins reading, the corruption starts. Slowly, quietly, inevitably. That's what made it so devastating in WandaVision and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
I opened the Darkhold. I have to close it.
The Darkhold doesn't simply grant power, it reshapes the mind. Every spell comes with a cost. Every page drags its reader deeper into obsession, until eventually, they stop using the book, and the book starts using them. That's what makes it one of Marvel's deadliest creations. It doesn't need blades, it doesn't need force. It weaponizes knowledge itself, and once it takes hold of your mind, destruction becomes inevitable. Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker wasn't forged for ordinary battle. It was created for one purpose: to kill something that shouldn't be killable. When Thor hurled it at Thanos, everything changed. Infinity Stone energy should have stopped anything in its path. Stormbreaker tore through it anyway. That single moment proved exactly what it was built to do. It doesn't overwhelm through chaos. It ends through certainty. One clean strike, one impossible result. And suddenly, even the universe's most powerful conqueror looked vulnerable. And somehow, even that still isn't Marvel's deadliest weapon, because the final one never needed to swing. It only needed to decide.
No, give me that. You have the little one.
The Infinity Gauntlet. Every weapon before this still depends on conflict. The Infinity Gauntlet doesn't. It doesn't need combat. It doesn't need force. It only needs will. The moment all 6 stones came together, reality itself stopped resisting. Space bent, time obeyed, Existence answered, that's what makes the Infinity Gauntlet Marvel's deadliest weapon, not its destructive power. Its authority, because the most terrifying weapon imaginable isn't the one that destroys through violence. It's the one that makes destruction effortless and leaves the universe with no choice but to obey.